What's going on YouTube? Today we got why it's impossible for LeBron to surpass Michael Jordan. Cap. Last video gonna be at the end of the reaction, man. Cap. That's tough, but that's cap. My son Bron, you know what I'm saying? He's still playing the game of basketball, man. You can't just close the door. You can't close the door. And I realized that. I thought about that, man. My fault, y'all. But how you gonna you can't just close the door on a player that's still playing, especially a player of LeBron's caliber. And he's not slowing down too much, you know. You close the door on that man, he kicked the door open, and you're gonna be looking stupid, you know. There's no reason to close the door yet.
Welcome back to the Basketball Time Machine. My name is Sean David. Thanks for tuning in. In today's episode, I want to take a look at Michael Jordan and LeBron James and explain to you why I think it's impossible for LeBron James to surpass Michael Jordan. But before we dive into today's episode, let's take a quick look at a sponsor of today's video. Today's video is brought to you by Fabulous. Now, if you are like me, you have tons of things you want to do every single day, but every day.
Bro, good, got a sponsor every video.
And the first criteria that we're going to take a look at is 6 of 6 versus 4 and 6. Now, this is very often the argument you hear in conversations when comparing Michael Jordan to LeBron James, and rightfully so. Now, to put things in the right perspective, it's incredible that a player makes the NBA Finals 10 times. But here is where we have to look very close. How did LeBron James actually accomplish this? First, he was playing in a very weak Eastern Conference. This was at a time where you only had 2 to 3 solid teams in the East, and all the good teams literally played in the Western Conference. Then number 2, apart from the year where LeBron James took the Cleveland Cavaliers to the NBA Finals in 2007, he always had at least 2 other superstars on his teams. When he played for the Miami Heat, he played alongside Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, who at that time were 2 of the top 10 players in the entire NBA. Oh, and did you ever hear about a guy called Ray Allen? Then he played for the Cleveland Cavaliers with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, again 2 other top 10 players. Then with the Los Angeles Lakers, he played with Anthony Davis. But I mean, come on, it was the bubble. Last year, LeBron James was kicked out of the playoffs in the first round, which looked a little something like this.
It is the first round series that LeBron James has lost in his career.
Michael Jordan made it to the NBA Finals 6 times in 15 years. LeBron James, 10 times in 18 years. MJ never lost in the NBA Finals. Michael Jordan retired at the peak of his career, which means maybe if he would have continued, he would have made at least 1 or 2 more final appearances. Anyway, no matter what LeBron James will do, his record here will never look as impressive as Michael Jordan's. Because the most impressive feat is if you're undefeated.
The shame of The Last Dance, as Michael says, is we didn't get the chance. Jalen and everybody else listening who's ever played basketball on the playground knows this. Winners keep playing. Winners don't stop. Winners don't get replaced. The winner keeps playing. We got next. They didn't have next. That's the shame of The Last Dance, as Michael puts it. And he has told me this a million times. I said, well, aren't you satisfied with being 6-0? No, I wanted to run it back. Run it back is a phrase that translates in any language. You stay on the court if you are the winners.
And the next criteria that I have on my list are the accolades. Now again, we have to make sure that we mention that LeBron James' accolades are sensational. I mean, the guy was a multiple MVP, NBA champ, multiple All-Star. He won almost everything you can win as a basketball player. But again, and this is a fact, Jordan won more accolades in less years. LeBron will never be able to compete with MJ in this category. Since LeBron is already in his 19th season and Jordan won more accolades in his 15 years, we just have to take a look at this picture to see what I'm talking about. But Jalen Rose had a very interesting rating system in one of his episodes, which objectively shows that Jordan is realistically not surpassable by LeBron James.
But what we decided to do is put emotions aside and decide on some criteria that could measure the GOAT. And here are the 5 criteria that you picked. Scoring titles, NBA titles, MVPs, Finals MVPs, and Defensive Player of the Year. Why did you pick these 5 categories?
They establish dominance and they're not emotional. We're not upgrading or downgrading teammates. We're not talking about the number of teams or coaches somebody played for. We're talking about who's the greatest basketball player of all time. And in order to get to that, you have to hit those 5 marks.
Let me see.
The coach, we're not up.
I like those. I like all those except for except for NBA title. I like all those except for NBA title. Those are great. I like these
Grading or
criteria.
downgrading teammates. We're not talking about the number of teams or coaches somebody played for. We're talking about who's the greatest basketball player of all time. And in order to get to that, you have to hit those 5 marks. If you're winning
I do believe you should use more than just that, though.
MVP,
I don't believe you just use
scoring titles,
that.
You win a defensive player of the year.
That's all. I feel like you should use more than just that.
Now all of a sudden you go into a different echelon of all-time greatness.
And that is exactly what we are going to do here today. Now, one thing that's interesting about these 5 categories is no human being has ever achieved all 5 in a single season. However, there are 4 people that have achieved 4 of the 5 GOAT criteria in a single season. Michael Jordan has done it 4 times. We have Shaq, Hakeem, and Kareem. Jalen.
Since they've been keeping stats, these are the greatest individual seasons of all time. Those terrific performers, and look, was a big man's game. 3 of those 4 are centers. Notice that, and they did it each one time. Michael Jordan, a 6'6" guard, did it 4 times.
Jalen, there's one human being standing on this planet over the course of history that has actually achieved all 5 of the GOAT criteria over the course of their career, and it's not going to be a surprise exactly who that is. That is Michael Jeffrey Jordan. But it's not just the fact that he did it, it's the quantity of times that he's done it. Take a look at this, Jalen. Your thoughts?
Sometimes I dream that he is me. Not only did he achieve all 5 at some point of his career, Jacoby, it ain't like Defensive Player of the Year where he just did it once. He was the scoring champion 10 times. In 6 of those years, his team won the championship.
And the next reason that I have on my list is the legends that Michael Jordan defeated. Let's start with LeBron James. He had to play against some of the biggest legends of his era. I mean, he faced Dirk Nowitzki, he faced the Splash Brothers, he faced the San Antonio Spurs with Tim Duncan and those guys, and yes, he beat all of them. But they also all beat him. Michael Jordan defeated Magic Johnson, Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley, Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, Karl Malone and Judd Stockton twice. And he also played in the way tougher era. But it's not the fault of LeBron James that he's playing in this weak era. But it's a fact that he mainly had to play against 3 to 4 other good teams. And in Michael Jordan's era, you had at least 6 teams that would seriously compete for an NBA championship. So again, it's not LeBron's fault, but it's reality.
And what do you get with that? There's more stacked teams. So what do you have to do? Stack your team more just to compete. So it's like, just think about it. Just think about it for 1 second, people. Please.
One time.
Please.
He never asked to sit out. He never asked for anything, but only he asked for respect and money.
And the next point that I have on my list are the teammates. Now, I mentioned earlier that LeBron James was the master recruiter and known for teaming up with some of the best players in the league. And of course, this makes it easier to win an NBA championship. Jordan won 6 championships with Scottie Pippen being the only other All-Star on his team. Here are some of the All-Stars LeBron James played with: Anthony Davis, Kevin Love, Chris Bosh, Kyrie Irving, Dwayne Wade. And fun fact, LeBron James played with a total of 15 current or former NBA All-Stars. Back in Michael Jordan's era, there was no teaming up. There was way too much pride and honor. You wanted to beat those guys and not play with them. And yes, times have changed, but from a competitive standpoint, you gotta give credit to Michael Jordan because that old school mentality and beating the other guys is what competitiveness is all about.
You guys know how much I love Michael Jordan. I wear number 23 because of Michael Jordan. When I first got my first pair of Jordans, you couldn't tell me nothing. So y'all can do the debates. Y'all can figure that out.
That one right there made me the greatest player of all time. That's what I felt. I was super ecstatic to win one for Cleveland because of the 52-year drought. Like, I was ecstatic. Like, obviously,
yeah, we know
the first
this
wave of
is cringe,
emotion
bro.
Was, everyone saw me crying. Like, that was all.
Nobody want to see this no more, bro. We know he said some crazy shit.
And then after I
you don't
stopped,
got
I was like,
you know what I'm saying?
that one right there made you the greatest player of all time.
God.
You know, and everybody knows I love LeBron, but I'm gonna call time out on this one. because, and I'll speak definitely to LeBron, or I'll say it to his face, but you never, there's a certain thing about greatness that demands that you have humility with greatness. Now, I've never heard, even though we argue about Michael Jordan being the greatest of all time, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being the greatest of all time, LeBron James being the greatest of all time, we have those arguments in debate. I have never heard Michael Jordan say he's the greatest of all time.
Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave.
That's the end of this one, y'all. If y'all enjoyed this reaction, make sure you click on the last reaction on your screen right now. Turn on post notifications. Links in the description, man. And I'm out of here.